All right, this week we are making this cute serving tray that's big enough to serve our Thanksgiving turkey on, or a lot of other foods to come in future projects. So stay tuned and see how fun and easy this one is to make. All right, in order to make our serving tray, we need to make a form to make our serving tray over. I kind of played around with a couple of different ideas of how to make a serving tray, and this one seemed like the easiest to get really consistent results. And what I have here is a 2-inch long piece of one of these giant craft sticks from Walmart. These guys are, does it say on the package where I can see it really quick how long they are? These are 1.25 inches wide and 10 inches long. And they are a really good, if you do a lot of crafting, I have been using those so much since I got them. Any piece of basswood that you've got in your stash that's about this size will work. It would be nice to be a little thicker than this, but it will be fine. So like I said, I cut a 2-inch long piece, and now I'm going to sand the cut ends so that they will, so it takes any roughness away. And then I'm just going to do that on all 4 corners. That way it allows me to make sure I don't have sharp corners that are going to be harder to work with. Now we need to get our clay ready. And for clay, I am once again just using my white translucent mix. This is my preference when I'm making anything that's supposed to look like it's ceramic or stoneware as far as clays. And then I'm going to color the outside, just like I did when we made our casserole dish. So I've got my clay here. I pre-mix, I keep a package of this pre-mixed in my stash. So I've got 2 regular size, the regular jumbo craft sticks and my clay roller, and I am going to roll this out to be the same thickness as these 2 jumbo craft sticks. When I get that done, I'll come back and we'll go to the next step. Alright, this is rolled out, and I made sure it was bigger in all directions than my wood former. Now I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to drape it over. And I'm going to cut it. We're not cutting it exactly to size yet. In fact, that's a couple of steps down the project. Now you could vary the size depending on what you want to serve on your serving tray. You could vary the shape also. We might actually work with the same type of tray in future videos to do other things. At this point, you want to seal your corners and make sure that your sides are taller than your form is deep. However deep your form is how tall your sides are going to be, by the way. And it doesn't matter if it folds over at this point. That's fine. What we are going to do now, once we get this as best we can, this needs to go into the freezer in the kitchen for 15 minutes. I want to get it really, really cold, because that will make the clay easier to work with. It'll kind of firm it up. Anytime you've got translucent clay in your clay mixture, it's going to be very soft. So I'm going to freeze this, and then when it's gotten nice and cold, I'll come back and we'll go to the next step. All right, this is now thoroughly chilled. So I'm going to take my blade and attempt to cut. You don't have to cut all at once. You can cut this in sections. Cutting off the extra clay with, hopefully without, whoops, I cut too much there, so I'll fix that. Let's see if I can fix that a little bit. Show you how to do a repair. It happens. That's fine because the clay is not baked yet, so it's easy to fix. And sorry if I'm kind of covering up what I'm doing here. I have to be able to see so I don't cut myself. Let's see if I can turn this. Basically what we want to do is we want to get that cut even with the top of that piece of wood. And if it's still soft, go put it back in the freezer for a little bit, which I might do here in a sec. Because this is... But being soft is kind of, like I said earlier, it's kind of the nature of the translucent clay. They tend to be a lot softer. All these little bits and pieces put back into my bag of clay because there's nothing wrong with them. They can still be used. Okay, am I happy with this yet? Not quite. All right, that will do. Now what I've got here is some blue chalk. This is the same blue chalk. If you watched my stuffing video a couple of weeks ago, I used the same chalk on the outside of the casserole dish that I did that day. If you don't want to use chalk, you can always paint this later. Or if you don't mind having the inside the same color as the outside, you could use a colored clay along with your translucent. I just like the transparency of the kind of translucent look of using chalk on this, and because usually I use the chalks to color my foods, my baked goods. This is a color I very seldom get to work with. I've got a hair on my brush. There we go. This is a color I very seldom get to work with, so it's fun to play with it. All right, I'm trying to be very careful to just keep this on the back side. And I see there are little sparklies. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. I was doing something with some sparkle yesterday that I may or may not hit the channel in the future, depending on how the project works out. And I apparently did not get all the sparkle off of my tray. I thought I had. I cleaned this with a wet wipe twice. Alright, add as much or as little color as you like on the outside of that. Now I'm going to use my blade to carefully pick this up so I don't, hopefully don't damage it. And got a little bit of color on there, which I want to see about. Getting some of that off. Obviously, any clay that has chalk on it you won't want to put back in the bag with the other clay. You could put it in your scrap clay, but you don't want to put it in with the rest of your translucent clay. And let's see if I have. All right. The rest of that I think we can remove with just a little bit of sanding when this is baked. So now this is going to go onto a paper plate and into a 275-degree oven for probably about 10 minutes. And when it's baked and cooled, I'll come back and we will finish this up. All right, this is baked and cooled, so now we get to play with getting it out. It's usually not too difficult. I've made a couple of different ones of these in different sizes to play with this, and it works pretty well once you get it started. Now I've got, since I got a little bit of blue on the edge, and this will also even up that edge a little more. There we go, that's fine now. So let's put, now you could paint a design on the inside if you want to. You could do any number of things to decorate this. I'm going to leave it as it is and coat it with just some gloss Mod Podge. And I'm going to start with this area. I'm going to paint some in. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to turn it over and paint the outside off camera. And when I've got a good, and be sure when you're using gloss Mod Podge, especially on polymer clay, make sure you use a very thin coat. You can use 2 thin ones, but don't use a thick one. It has a nasty habit of staying just a little bit tacky if you put it on too thick on polymer clay. So I'm going to let this dry. When it's dry, I'll come back and I'll show you how this looks finished, and we'll even put the turkey from a couple weeks ago on here, just so you can see what it looks like with something on it. All right, here is our finished tray with our turkey from a few weeks ago on it, ready to serve in the dining room of the Dollhouse. If you haven't seen the turkey video, I will have an end card on this video that does the whole playlist of the holiday foods that we've already done, and they will be added to that as we make new ones too. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit the like button, leave me a comment. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I would love to have you join us by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Be sure and check the blog post for photos, and if you haven't joined our Facebook group, the link to both the Facebook and the blog are in the description box, and the Facebook is usually the quickest way to get a hold of me. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.